Hi, everyone. Back with the Triple Play podcast. I'm Colby. That's Nick. One of these days, I will ask Nick which side I'm on before we start
You're
the
on the left.
podcast.
You're on the left.
Left-hand
You're always
side.
on the
Okay.
left.
Nick's on the right. I'm on the
Yeah.
left. We appreciate everybody that's been helping us out, been giving us some views and
Yeah.
stuff. I know that Major League Baseball isn't everyone's absolute cup of tea all the time, but
Yeah.
if you can't catch all 162 games, guess what? We're here for you. Okay, so give us a like, subscribe to us, and just put us on in the background. Give us a view. We appreciate it. So, Nick, you want to tell them what we're talking about today?
Today we're talking about some power rankings. We're thinking about doing one of these maybe every week or every other week. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through all 30 teams, tell you why they're ranked where they are, and maybe discuss. We're probably gonna have a ton of different opinions on this. So good conversations coming up. You want to start at
Abs-
30?
Absolutely, sounds good to me.
All right. I have the
Uh,
Nationals 30th.
I have the Nationals as well at
I mean,
30th. I don't think even CJ could say anything about
yeah,
it
I mean
at the current moment.
they if they still had Juan Soto, I'll probably put them above the Athletics, no matter what their record was, because they're just a better team simply because they have Juan Soto. But
Absolutely.
I think in probably a couple years after that huge prospect haul they got for Soto, they will be much higher on this list.
Absolutely. I don't think that, we've talked about consistently that they're paying some guys that they shouldn't be paying some
Yeah,
money that they really can't afford to be paying them.
yeah,
But in all seriousness, a few years down the road with the prospects they got, we could be talking about the Nationals competing for a wild card spot within the next 3 or 4 years, maybe.
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't think they'll really be able to be a championship team until they get Steven Strasburg and Patrick Corbin off of their payroll, unless they can start performing like they're being paid.
Hmm.
Then they could really start competing again. But I just don't see them doing that because Strasburg can't stay on the field and Patrick Corbin's just bad. That was just an unfortunately terrible signing for the Nationals.
Yep. Number 29, I have the Oakland Athletics.
I have the same.
And they did what they needed to do. They sold some guys that they needed to sell.
Yeah.
I thought that Sean Murphy might get sold as well. We thought that Ramon Laureano might could go.
Yeah.
I don't think Ramon Laureano had quite the market that he needed to have for them to feel comfortable selling him
Yeah.
off.
Right. I agree with that.
And
And I
here's
also about Sean Murphy, I didn't think they would move him this offseason necessarily because he hasn't had a true breakout and he still has 3 years of control left. So I'd say
Mhm,
they'll probably keep him around a little bit just
mhm.
because he's cheap and he's decent. He's an above average catcher for sure.
Yep, and that gives Langoliers another year, to
Right,
come up.
right.
So
And if Langoliers comes up and pops off, I'd say Murphy's probably getting kicked for a couple more prospects.
yeah, I mean, all these teams at the bottom, you're just thinking, okay, well, in a couple of years, what could their season look like?
Right.
So, number 28, who did you have?
I have the Detroit Tigers.
I have the same as well. And the Detroit Tigers, I don't feel like we thought at the beginning of the year we were going to be
Mm-mm.
talking about them this low.
Mm-mm.
I don't think anybody was ready just to say, oh, yeah, they for sure are going to the playoffs. But
I was high on the Tigers. Like I
mhm,
really thought that they could shock the world and win that Central Division this year. After how they did last year, they had a breakout season from Heimer Candelario,
yep,
and he hasn't played worth anything this year.
absolutely.
The injury after injury. They signed Javi Baez to a long term deal. He ain't playing worth anything either,
No, he's
and that's
not.
just unfortunate. And it's not a hitter's ballpark either. So their best chance for success probably is building a four-headed monster in the rotation and
Hmm.
getting a few guys in their lineup that can really produce.
Absolutely. And they have the young prospects that maybe in 3 or 4 years they might have the pitching rotation without having to
Absolutely.
make any moves. So,
Right.
a couple years from now, they're a couple years and three arms away, in my opinion. So,
Yeah. I think that Casey Mize and Matt Manning
yep,
could really be the front of that rotation along with Tarek Skubal.
yep,
That's a pretty
absolutely. Oh,
good
yeah,
three-man rotation for the 28th best team in baseball.
yep,
Like that's a really good rotation, and that's something to build off of. That's a core group to build around right there for a few
yep.
years.
And they do, they're just going to, they're going to have big performances out of their big players. And whenever
Yeah.
Javi Baez turns the corner and maybe a couple other guys they grab, you never know. You never know what
Right.
could happen.
Right.
Number 27, I have the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I had the Cincinnati Reds.
And I had them back to back there at 26 and
I
27.
I have them flip flopped. Yeah.
Okay, so the Pirates, I had the Pirates at 27 just because actually I was looking at both of the teams. We know the records are right there.
Yeah.
I know the last 10 games, both of them have still been struggling. I like the outlook of the Pirates' future a little bit more than the outlook of the Reds. But I do think that right now, I just put the Reds just a touch above. The Reds do still have a couple other veterans that can make some plays and can, in a 3-game set with the Pirates, maybe make some hits and stuff like that
Yeah.
can put series over for the Reds. So that's why I put the Reds just a little bit above the Pirates there.
If the Reds still had the pieces that they had, they'd probably be a lot higher on this. And I'm going to contradict you on the outlook for the Reds over the Pirates. I think the Reds, with the prospect haul they got for Luis Castillo and Tyler Mahle and and Tommy Pham, I think that they can really, really build. And Noel V. Marte is a top tier prospect, and he should be major league ready next year. So, and you got an infield with him and Jonathan India in it. That's a solid up the middle defense right there. I like that. You good, buddy? I think you froze him. You good?
Are you back? Yep.
All right.
I just got you back. It was like probably about a 10-second delay.
Yeah. It's all good.
But no, I heard what you were saying. I absolutely agree. Actually, something I didn't. It's one of those things where the Pirates kept a couple pieces that maybe if they're still good in 2 or 3 years, it could match up.
Yeah.
You said the Reds do have the younger guys that could come up and really over team the Pirates do. So I completely understand what you're saying there. Who did you have in the 25th spot?
I have the Chicago Cubs in the 25th spot.
Who did you have in the 24th spot?
The Kansas City Royals.
We're back to back again. I have the Royals in the 25th spot, and I have the Cubs right above them. Now, you want to start this time on why you had the Royals ahead of the Cubs?
Mainly just because they have more wins. Really, I mean, they're both terrible teams. And there was a certain point in this when I didn't know how to distinguish terrible from barely not terrible. And. The Royals, I like the Royals. They've called up a lot of their big-time prospects like Nick Pratto and Vinny Pasquantino lately to try and get them some big league experience, and I like that for them. And they do have a pretty good farm system. I think they could really, in a couple of years, probably make a decent playoff push in the Central, because the AL Central, to me, is probably going to be the weakest division in baseball for a while until something major changes.
Absolutely. I agree. And I do think that the Royals are a team where they middled around a little bit for the first half of the season. You were like, well, maybe this team sneaks in. You never. They don't necessarily jump out at you on paper. I did put the Cubs ahead of them. I do think the Cubs are going to kind of take the route that the Royals are taking. They may call up a few guys here at the end, give some guys out of their AA and AAA systems some looks. I know the past several games here, I just felt like the Cubs were being just a little bit more competitive than the Royals in the last 10 games. That's the only reason why I gave it to them. On paper, if these two teams played a 7-game series, I probably would take the Royals. But now I tell you what, the AA team that my dad saw play the Mississippi Braves was actually the AA team for the Cubs up there near Pigeon Forge. He said they had 6 guys in the lineup with 20+ home runs in AA. So I mean, like.
Sheesh.
Yeah, I know. He was like everybody kept popping up on the screen with 20+ home runs. He was like, why are he's like, I know for a fact the Cubs aren't doing good this year. These guys need to get in the lineup.
Yeah, for real.
So,
and the Cubs this offseason committed to, or the last trade deadline, they committed to the rebuild, traded off their core 3.
Absolutely.
Broke every Cubs fan's heart.
Sad to see, man.
It is sad. It is sad to see.
At the end of a dynasty, really.
Yeah.
And they got their ship,
Yeah, they got
so
their ring,
so absolutely, selling off, the fans can't be mad. This next
Yeah.
group could be just as good. Who did you have in the 23 spot?
I had the Colorado Rockies in the 23 spot.
I actually had the Miami Marlins.
I had the
in
Marlins at
23 spot.
22.
Yep, absolutely. That's me too. I have the Rockies at 22, and I'll tell you why I put the Marlins just below them. I do think that some of the pieces for the Marlins that have kept them kind of middling around this year have not performed as well lately. I
Yeah.
did. Pablo Lopez is taking a step back in the second half of the
Yeah.
year. That's hurting them really bad. They have one go-to arm. They traded off some of their bullpen, and I do think that the Rockies have some sticks that could get hot at certain points
Yeah.
and really help them out. In the past little bit, both these teams have actually kind of struggled. The Marlins
Yeah.
just got 3 games swept by the Braves, but I mean. It's the 4. Oh, sorry, 4 games. Sorry, I thought it was just 3 games. No,
Nah.
the doubleheader. The
Doubleheader.
I didn't think. I forgot about the doubleheader
The
there.
Braves finally figured out how to win a 2-day games.
A day
Two
game,
day
yeah,
games
some
and
day
back-to-back
games.
days they won. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely, but no, that's why I put the Marlins just a little bit below the Rockies there. I still think in a series against each other, the Marlins wouldn't have the pitching to face the Rockies. That's the only reason why I
Yeah.
said what I did.
I think the Marlins probably win however many starts Sandy Alcantara gets in that series.
Mhm.
And then they would probably lose every other game because the
Gosh,
Rockies do have better sticks. But I love Jazz Chisholm. I love watching Sandy Alcantara pitch against any other team that's not named the Braves.
absolutely.
And even sometimes when he's pitching against the Braves, it's just he's too good to not enjoy watching.
Yep,
Like
and and I hope that Jazz gets back here before the end of the year, gets a
Me
couple
too.
weeks of ball in him. You don't want to see guys like that. Like that's like the Tatis situation. You don't want to see guys like that missing baseballs. So
Yeah.
it's sad, but I do think the Marlins are always a team where I'm like, this team is a few guys away from making a wild card run, and you don't feel bad about it as a Braves fan
No.
either, because
No.
you, as a Braves fan, you're like, all right, let's put the Mets in the dirt, let's put the Phillies in the dirt. You're like, okay, the Marlins, I wouldn't mind to see the Marlins in the wild card. So
Oh, I would love to. Hey, the Marlins showed people that they have a chance to compete in that 2020 shortened season. When
absolutely,
they made the postseason, beat the Cubs in the wild, and then I mean they got slaughtered by the Braves, but I mean they were outmatched. The Braves were a far better team and with a way higher payroll.
Yeah, not even close. But yeah, I do think that the Marlins are a team that could sway either direction year in and year out. The Rockies are several pieces away from making a run, especially on the pitching side.
The Rockies organization just confuses me. They sign Nolan Arenado to an extension, trade him for terrible prospects. They didn't get Nolan out of it.
Yep.
And then they signed Chris Bryant to an 8-year deal. Why? You're not competitive right now. You don't need to sign an all-star.
No, absolutely not.
Then you didn't trade Trevor Story at the deadline last year after he said that he would not come back to Colorado. That's the stupidest move I've ever seen a GM make.
Yeah. So they've had 2 big guys leave, and they've got, nothing really big to show for it.
Yeah. Austin Gomber was the centerpiece of the Arenado trade, and he has a 5.31 ERA this year. So,
yep.
Not looking too bad.
At the 21 spot, I had the Texas Rangers.
The same.
At the 21 spot. Golly, I'll tell you what, it's like we watch baseball together.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Texas Rangers, they're a team that, next year at this time, we could be talking about them, as the number 1 wild card team. And I wouldn't bat 2 eyelashes about it, because they're a couple arms away. They're a team that's a couple arms away, in my opinion, too. They've got guys like Adolis Garcia. If Marcus Semien and Corey Seager could catch fire for a season together, I think they could put enough bats around them. And if they grab a couple pitching prospects, that's what hurts them right now. They just do not have the pitching to compete with anyone in a 3-game set.
Yeah, that was the thing. They committed $500 million to Semien and Seager this offseason, which I thought, they have both underperformed this year, but I thought those were both great signings off the years they came off of.
Yeah.
And, this time they're 51-63 right now. This time next year, they might be 63-51 and looking at a playoff spot.
In the 20th spot, I had the Los Angeles Angels.
Same.
Yep, and they've actually had a pretty good little 10-game stretch here. And this is what the Angels do. As soon as they're out, they
They'll start winning
finally
again.
they start winning again, and they'll win just enough to not have a very good draft pick spot.
Exactly.
And
They ruin everything for themselves. It's the Angels. They're like the Mets of the AL West.
yep, they just I tell you what, that every year we hope, and I think everybody that's not an Angels fan would hope that the Angels would put it together. So
Yeah, because when you have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani on the same team, you have to make the playoffs. Those are in my eyes, the two best players in baseball on the same team, and that team is 51-64.
uh
And they have Anthony Rendon.
Yep, it's sad, but you know, like I said, they've put together a few wins here lately. That's why they're a little bit more up on the list. That's why they're 20th, and they're not, 2-3 weeks ago we might be talking about them in the 26, 27 spot. So
Yeah.
They can win games. It's just about, can you be consistent over a full 162?
See, I think what killed them this year, that they got off that hot start. Taylor Ward had just a crazy breakout, just turned into just a stud.
Absolutely.
And then he starts getting hurt a little bit. Trout hits the IL. Shohei's not playing exactly like Shohei. That big 13 or 14 game losing streak, and then it blew up, just collapsed on themselves.
Yep, absolutely. And I will say that at the very beginning of the season, when they were looking their strongest, I don't think Shohei's bat had picked up quite as much until after they started actually on their downswing of losing.
Yeah, right.
And then, I don't know. It's always question marks there. Number 19, I had the Arizona Diamondbacks. Absolutely. And the Diamondbacks have a couple guys where you're just like, I like that guy. And then they have several guys where you're just like, this guy plays Major League Baseball.
Yeah. They have a few too many guys that say
and a few too many good teams in their division.
Yeah. They play in one of the tougher divisions in baseball. You've got the Dodgers, who are always beasts. They're always among the top 2 or 3 in record in baseball. They've got to face the Padres, who have, well, they don't have Tatis right now, but they have Tatis, Machado, Soto, and Josh Bell as their top 4. That's stupid.
Yep.
That shouldn't be.
And their role players are good enough to be a superstar on another team.
For sure.
So it's hard. It's hard as the Diamondbacks. I will say the Diamondbacks have made great strides compared to last year.
Yeah. To be 53-61 with the roster that they have is very, very impressive.
Absolutely. And Ketel Marte, getting him locked up on a hometown deal, that can only bode well for the future. Hopefully he's a guy that I'd like to see just really stay healthy for a couple seasons in a row. Zach Gallen could be your ace for.
I'm a Zach Gallen stan.
Yeah.
I love Zach Gallen.
He could be your ace for the next 5-6 years. Easy. That's a division where you have to have the pitching and the hitting. You can't really get by with just one or the other.
Nope. Because you look at the good teams where they have Padres and Dodgers, where they got the sticks and they got the pitching.
Yep, absolutely. So, just the Diamondbacks at 19, they've done well to be where they are.
Yeah.
At number 18, I'm kind of up on this team right now, and I hate that I only have them at 18, and that is the Boston Red Sox.
I have the San Francisco Giants.
Okay, I have the Giants at 17. Are the Red Sox a little too far up to talk about both of them, or
there's a couple few spots?
Okay, well, I have the Red Sox at 18 because obviously they're 5th in the division. We haven't seen the Red Sox here in a long time. However, past couple games, we've been seeing a little bit of a Red Sox team that could have a chance to make a push. They're not completely out.
Oh, no, they're not completely out.
I wouldn't say they're completely out. The Blue Jays are looking a little down. The Rays haven't looked the greatest. The Orioles are hanging in this, and
I'm rooting for the Orioles, dude.
Absolutely. Nobody's going to win this division, but 2 teams out of this division could be making the wild card.
Right.
So, because
3 teams out of this division could realistically, if the Mariners could fall off.
Yeah, because you said the AL Central, there's nobody in that division that I'm saying is competing for a wild card spot.
No.
So that's just a division winner, and that's it. But the Red Sox have the pieces to be a scary team. I actually, I feel like I'm up on them at 18, but I feel like you could also talk about them in a week's time at number 13 or 12 even.
Yeah.
So
I had the Giants at 18. They scuffled for a bit. They didn't do anything at the deadline, which really frustrated me a little bit. You got to sell or buy one of the two.
Yeah, no, and they weren't out of the wild card, I don't think.
They're not out of it right now, in my opinion. They're 57-57. And who's got the third wild card spot right now? The Phillies. The Phillies are 63 and 51.
Yep.
So they're probably they're 6 games out. That's not undoable with a month and a half left. That's not undoable.
I think at the All-Star break they were 4 games out. So I mean, and the Giants, they've always this last year they really showed how a team of role players and maybe not the greatest superstars could catch fire and look good at the back half of the season. They had guys like Logan Webb go out of his mind. They were getting good veteran production out of Buster Posey and Evan Longoria
and Brandon Crawford and
absolutely
Brandon
and Brandon Crawford. Yep, sorry about Brandon. I'm a Brandon Belt truther when it comes to MLB shows. So, and that just bodes well for your clubhouse too when you have veterans feeling good and looking good and being healthy and all that stuff. So and this year I feel like they've had a couple guys that's been hurt here, there, and everything. They brought in a guy like Jock Peterson. That's a clubhouse guy.
Yeah.
They had the pieces to make a push and just didn't really decide here or there what they were really doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think their offseason overall was probably fairly poor because they lost Kevin Gausman to the Blue Jays. They brought in Carlos Rodon, who is pitching incredibly well.
Yeah.
But losing Buster Posey and replacing him with Joey Bart is just not going to help your team.
Yeah, I understand, but you also would have liked to have seen them try to go for maybe 1 or 2 more playoff bursts before they just said, and then they didn't really just say, hey, we're rebuilding. They didn't say that. They kept all the other pieces. So it's tough. They've got some young pieces in the bullpen that I think could be really good in years to come. I don't think they're too far out of making it to the playoffs next year, maybe, but they're like you said, they're in a tough division with the Dodgers and the Padres. They won that division last year though, so I like the future. I don't think they have a bad future ahead of them. I had them, like you said, I had them at 17, right above the Red Sox, but I don't think they have a bad future ahead of them. I don't think they're a team that's 5 years away. They're a team that could be just 1 or 2 years away.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll be an easy out going down the stretch here by any means. The 16th team that I had, so you go ahead and say your 17th. You go over your 17 because the Giants were my 17.
Oh, okay. I had the White Sox at 17.
Okay.
They're 59 and 56 right now. They're playing a little bit better ball, but what I worry about is can they still win after losing Luis Robert yesterday?
Absolutely. I completely understand.
That is their version of a Ronald Acuna Jr. That's their superstar. That's their guy. And when you lose that guy, it is devastating. It kills a clubhouse to lose a player of that caliber.
There are 2 center fielders in that division that could be MVP caliber players that struggle with injury. And you hate to see it for baseball. And like you said, I just don't know if they have the star caliber bats at that point to get it done. I do think their pitching is finally getting healthy at the right time to make a push. We saw Kopech look like an absolute stud the other day. He's a guy that can shove. Cease's a guy that can shove. They've got some arms that could really bear down and get it done.
Lance Lynn isn't a bad guy either. No, he's a good starter.
Absolutely not. And they've got a couple bullpen pieces that are pretty scary. But like you said, without Robert, you start to kind of see the cracks in the lineup of, well, who's gonna hit? Who's going to hit 5 home runs in 10 games? You know what I mean? Down the stretch to get it to really put us over the top.
Yeah. And I'm not as big of a Tony La Russa hater as most people are, but he is not the manager for that team.
No, I think
he is an old school guy coaching a team full of new school 25-year-olds. And it's just they need to get a younger guy. I thought if they could get AJ Hinch to come in after he left Houston instead of him going to Detroit, I think if they have AJ Hinch right now, they probably have 68, 70 wins probably.
I thought that after they got bounced by the Astros that they would make a change last year. But you can't really hate on them that bad. The Astros are who they are.
Yeah, right.
But it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but I did think it was time to make a move. Maybe they thought that they could squeeze out another 2 years and maybe a ALCS appearance or something out of La Russo or something. You never know. But like you said, you had them at 17. I have the Minnesota Twins at 16.
I had the Red Sox at 16. I had the Twins at 15.
Okay, yeah, and I had the White Sox at 15. So
Okay.
I'll talk about the Twins for just a second at 16. They're in second place in their division. They're not out of it. They have the arms down the stretch to give them an opportunity
Mhm.
that they traded for at the deadline. I just you question with the Twins whether they're going to be able to hit day in and day out because sometimes they're piecing together hits
Yeah.
and sometimes they're just not. It's either on or not, and the pitching has so much pressure on them in Minnesota to really get the job done, and
Yeah.
you worry about that. You worry about that, but they did get the pieces they need. I don't think they're out of it, but I do think it was surprising to see them fall back to second place after I felt like they had a pretty strong hold
I
over the
thought
division.
I thought they had the best trade deadline in the division, going and getting Jorge Lopez and Tyler Mahle. You got a
Yep.
lockdown closer and a frontline starter, and
Yep.
they've gotten worse. It's just like the
Yeah.
Padres. The Padres have gotten worse since they got all of those superstars. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yep, your veteran leadership and your managing will show down the stretch, and
Yeah.
and that it could be, I don't have anything against Rocco Baldelli at all or anything,
Yeah.
but it's just a situation where last year the Twins crashed and burned hard, and you have to think like how many guys in the clubhouse are thinking, "Gosh, here we go,"
Yeah.
here we go, we're on the downhill slide, but they're a team that could still get it done. I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
I'm not completely out on them by
I'm
any
not
means.
counting them out at all because they're only 2.5 games back of the
Yeah,
Guardians right
no,
now. They're not
no.
far off.
And I don't think anybody in that division really just screams playoff stud, or anything.
No,
So
and to be honest with you, if the Guardians didn't have like J Ram and Bieber and that star power, I probably would have had the Twins ahead of them in the power rankings, maybe.
absolutely, absolutely. The Guardians have won the games here lately, and they've got a couple guys that you're just like, all right, that guy could get them over the hump for
Yeah.
sure. Um, Hopefully Buxton stays healthy, does what he needs to do down the stretch, and they make a run.
Yeah.
At 15, I had the White Sox. You had the Red Sox. You got a pair of
No,
Sox
no,
at 15.
I had the Twins at 15, the Sox at the Red Sox
Oh,
at
so
16.
okay, sorry. I was back and
No, you're
forth on
good.
that.
You good.
But I'll talk about the White Sox for just a second. You already talked about them, and I talked about them too. I'm really big on the arms of the White Sox. If they can find just enough power in the box that they could get in. I mean, this division is going to be beautiful down the stretch, and I think first and third are going to be separated by 3 games or
Yeah,
so.
it is very, very tight between the Sox, the Twins, and
The
the
Guardians.
Guardians.
Yep.
They're all within, like, I think they are all within 3 games.
Yep. And I think it can say that way the rest of the way.
Yeah.
I need none of those three are like, oh well, they could beat a top team, but then all 3 of them are, a team where I'm like, well, they ain't going to lose to anybody that's just teetotally terrible either.
Right. Right.
So it's going to be interesting down the stretch. I like the arms of the White Sox. Like I said, I love Cease. I love Kopech. I like some guys in the bullpen, and I hope that they can put together something, but I wouldn't mind to see, a team like the Guardians or a team like the Twins get in over them because then the White Sox might, make the changes necessary to make a
Right.
deeper run in future years. Who'd you have at 15? You said you had the
Twins.
the Twins. And do you have anything you want to say on the Twins real quick?
No, you covered most of it. If Buxton stays healthy and their arms that they picked up at the deadline can produce, they'll be fine. I think they are definitely still in it.
Okay. At 14, who'd you have at 14?
The Baltimore Orioles.
I did as well. We're cresting the 10-minute to go mark here. So we can talk about, I've got the Orioles at 14. Who did you have at 13?
The Rays.
Okay, I had the same thing. So
Okay.
Orioles and Rays, these teams have been back and forth in the standings the past, they're just right there with each other.
Yeah.
And I think they were actually tied in the standings the other day. But the Orioles are a team where they made the moves necessary. They got rid of a couple guys, and they're still right there with their young pieces. And you'd love to see, you can't help but root for a team like that.
Oh no, I'm rooting for the
Um,
Orioles, man.
And on the
I
other
am.
side, I feel like you look at the Rays and you see a team that needs to win. They need to win. They need to get in the playoffs. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody at the beginning of the year said, "Oh, the Rays will be fighting for a playoff spot." I know
Yeah.
that division was tough and everything, but I think everybody expected the Rays to get it done. So the Orioles have nothing to lose. The Rays, I
No.
feel like have quite a bit to
They
lose.
have everything to lose.
Absolutely.
Because if they can't win this year, they probably will have proven to themselves that Moneyball isn't going to work every year. It ain't going to work every year.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm a firm believer that over 162 Moneyball will work, but in that 5 and 7 game series in the playoffs, it don't matter. It's man on man. It ain't no analytics that's going to change anything.
Yep. Number 12, I had the Milwaukee Brewers.
I had the Cleveland Guardians at 12.
Okay, I was actually a little bit more up on them. I'll talk about the Brewers just for a second here.
Okay.
The Brewers, they're a game and a half out. They held their own a little bit against the Cardinals, a little bit better than I think people thought they would here recently.
Yeah.
They're a team. They've got the arms that could get strong here at the end. They've got the guys that have had the experience as well in the rotation and in the bullpen. They don't have Hader in the bullpen anymore, but I'm not saying that bullpen's completely shot. They've got some guys that could really look tough down the stretch. So I'm not completely out on the Brewers, but I'm also not completely in on the Brewers.
Yeah. I had the Brewers at 11, one above what you had.
Okay.
If they can get that 3-headed juggernaut of a rotation that they have back healthy and performing like they did last year, I would probably say they will pass the Cardinals. I might have faith that they would do that, because you're almost guaranteed you're winning 3 out of 5 games because you got Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta coming at you, and that's just tough.
Absolutely. At number 11, you said you had the Guardians.
No, I had the Brewers at 11, Guardians.
Oh, yeah, the Brewers are 11. You want to talk about the Guardians real quick?
I'm not too high on them because they don't have an insane amount of star power, but they have enough star power to definitely make it to the postseason and definitely beat a team. Now, if they're playing, the Astros or the Yankees, maybe I'm probably going to count them out. But if they're playing a weaker team like the Rays or the Orioles or the Mariners, I'm thinking they got a shot. They could really.
Yeah, they got a couple guys, especially like some younger guys like Josh Naylor who get hot and stuff.
Yeah.
You can't count out guys like Shane Bieber, like you said. That's a guy that you're just like, here you go win me a game, and then we'll go from here. So I'm high on them. I got them at 10 actually. I've got them at 10. I had the Toronto Blue Jays at 11. Who did you have?
This is where we're getting different. I had the Brewers at 11.
Okay. I'll try to save us some time here. Now, I had the Blue Jays at 11. The only thing that I'll have to say on the Blue Jays right here, we'll talk about them more when they come up from you. Star power that sometimes can go quiet is what I will say for the Blue Jays. We'll talk about them more in just a minute. I had the Guardians at 10. We've already talked about them. Who did you have at 10?
I had the Seattle Mariners at 10.
Okay, I had the Seattle Mariners at 9, so we can talk about them.
Okay. The Mariners, to me, they can surprise someone, but I think they make the playoffs, but I think they lose first round.
Absolutely. I think that the Mariners are a team that you're happy that you made the playoffs. You're okay to lose in the first round. Come back next year with a little bit more experience. A couple of your young guys maybe come up and look good after that.
Yeah.
Who did you have at number 9?
I had the Phillies at number 9.
Okay, so I had the Phillies a little bit further up.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about the Phillies for just a second there then?
I have little to no faith in the Phillies because I've seen them choke every single year for the past 4 years. And the same thing with the Mets. Now, this Mets team is certainly different from past Mets teams.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to jump on them yet. They're a little higher up here, but
the Phillies do have some power bats that could outscore a lot of teams and really just overwhelm somebody in the first 3 innings of a ball game, and then you're just like, what happened?
Yeah, I think in a wild card series, they might be, other than the Mets, they might be the last team I want to face, just because we might fool around and lose to Wheeler and Nola, and our season's done.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I had the Mariners at 9. We already talked about them. Who'd you have at 8?
I had the Blue Jays at 8.
Okay, I had the Padres at 8, and I'm gonna tell you why. Yes, they've had some more success lately. I wouldn't get excited about the success that you've had against the Washington Nationals just yet. They have the star power. They have the star power to be a top 3 team on this list.
Oh yeah.
But I'm trying to hold off just a little bit longer. Let's see if the pitching can keep being consistent. Let's see if the lineup can get it done on a consistent basis. They have the tools. I just want to see if they can get it done.
Yeah. I think that they definitely can, but it is just a matter of can they nut up and get it done.
Yep.
Really.
Who'd you have at 7?
I had the St. Louis Cardinals.
I had the St. Louis Cardinals at 7 as well. We both love the Cardinals.
Oh yeah.
I wish they would. At this point, I figured there'd be a little bit more separation between them and the Brewers. I do think that if you pit the two against each other, it's not a. I don't think it's a still a very very close series right now. The Cardinals still have the bats to just overwhelm the Brewers, in my opinion.
That's my thing on it. And Cole, by the way, if we run over on time, it's all right. We can start another one and keep going. We ain't got to cut everything out.
Okay. That sounds good.
But the Cardinals, I mean, they've got the MVP and probably the third place in MVP voting in my eyes right now, and Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado.
Yep.
But the main thing to me that separates them and the Brewers is, yes, the Brewers have much better pitching, but what do I preach? Good hitting hits good pitching before bad hitting hits bad pitching.
Absolutely. And you got too many guys that have done it for too long in the Cardinals lineup, in my opinion, paired with some young guys that can get it done at any point too.
Right.
And you don't know when a guy like Nolan Gorman or a guy like Dylan Carlson could catch fire and really do something for you down the stretch. You're not even really depending on those guys.
Right.
So whatever they give you is just extra.
Right.
So I like the Cardinals at 7. I feel like that's a good spot for them.
Yeah.
At 6, who did you have?
I had the Padres at 6.
Okay, I had the Phillies at 6.
Wow.
And like I said, like we talked about beforehand, it's what have you done for me lately? And I feel like the Phillies have done everything they needed to do to stay in this race for the second wild card spot. Yeah. I don't think you can count them out. The Padres are what they are. We know that if you put the Padres and the Phillies against you, I'm gonna pick the Padres 9 out of 10 times. But the Phillies just aren't going away yet, and this is not what we've seen out of the Phillies teams in the past. So I'm here for it. I like where they are. I think that they're going to get it done at least in the third wild card spot. I think they're safe in at this point. The Phillies have.
For sure.
You want to talk about the Padres since you had them at 6?
I mean, I think that top 5 in that batting order is just too good. And like it shouldn't be legal to have a top 5 that's that good, but their pitching to me is what put them above the Phillies. The Phillies have a great 1 and 2, but the Padres, I think, overall have a much better rotation than they do. Absolutely. With Musgrove, Clevenger, Snell, all of those guys. I think they just overmatched the Phillies in my opinion.
And I want to see Clevenger just come out and be an absolute stud here after all this time that he's missed.
It seems like he hadn't played in 4 years because of injuries.
I know. And he was a guy for Cleveland that I really liked. And he came over to the Padres. I was like, man, this is a guy that can get it done. He got hurt. But I'm telling you, he's a guy that I think could really step up and maybe even be their 2 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And we're going into our top 5 of our MLB power rankings, and I'll start it out with number 5. And it's a team that I just said recently was going to win the World Series, and it is the New York Yankees at number 5.
Me as well.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
You just can't. It's the Joey Gallo effect, and I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to stand for anyone saying otherwise. Okay, but the Yankees just haven't been getting it done in the last 10 to 15 games. They just, and nobody can argue against that either. You can't say, oh, but they have. Well, no, they haven't. Their record shows that they have not. They've fallen behind. They're not the number 1 team in the American League anymore. I don't think right now, this second, you're picking them over the Astros anymore. It's like you said, and I've said several times throughout this video, it's what have you done for me lately? And here lately, the Yankees have been so close to winning these games, but a team that can't close out a game is a team that will not win the World Series.
They're 2-8 in their last 10, and I'm pretty sure they're 2-9 in their last 11. And that is not the kind of baseball I expected to see out of this team. And that's just, I mean, you got to think about how crazy that they're 72-43. 10 games ago, they were 70-35.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
Yep. And everybody's like, oh, well, you maybe still say, oh, well, they still got over 70 wins. They're still one of the best things. Yeah, they still are one of the best records. But right now, Do you want to see the Astros right now looking the way you're looking?
No.
Probably not.
No. And
um,
had they not taken this big spill over the past week and a half, 2 weeks, I probably would have had them at third and moved my 3 and 4 down to 4 and 5.
I could see it. Absolutely. I could see my list being the same way. And you hate it because I felt like the Yankees were in such a good position when we talked about our playoff predictions and stuff like that. Fast forward 2 weeks later, it's just all over the place now. I wasn't ready to get excited about the skid when it was just at like the first 5 games of struggle or
Yeah.
so, but now, did they end up winning tonight? I don't think they did
Nope.
they?
Lost 3-0 to the Red Sox.
Yeah, they were losing 3-0 last time I saw. It's just one of those situations where you thought getting rid of Joey Gallo would free up the lineup to be a little more fluid. You could put yourself in some better situations with the lineup, but they just haven't scored the runs lately. And it's not even all pitching. Every once in a while, your closer's going to blow one, and not didn't think he was going to blow 3, but
Yeah.
every once in a while you're going to blow one. But where's the runs here lately?
Yeah.
So
And they're missing Stanton. Stanton hadn't been in the lineup in a while.
Yeah,
and it's Judge carrying that load. And I saw a quote the other day from Joey Gallo saying that it was the Aaron Judge show every day in New York. And it is. He is a one-man wrecking crew, and he can put that team on his back.
Oh, for sure.
And talking about Clay Holmes blowing a bunch of saves, I think if he had spread those out across the season, you wouldn't think anything about it. But since he had been so dominant and then he went so bad so randomly, it's very confusing. It might have just been a couple unlucky games for him, but I don't know. I think the next time we do this, I'll really know how I feel about the Yankees.
Yeah, you're not slamming your fist down on the panic button yet, but you've got your hand over top of it and you're ready to press at any point here.
Yeah.
I would like to see a couple role players get hot for that team down the stretch. I'd like to see Rizzo get back hot here. He's not doing bad by any means.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see Rizzo get hot here. I'd like to see a guy like Donaldson perform a little bit for him. He's a guy that could get hot and in a week's time win you 2 or 3 ball games with just how hot he could get.
Yeah.
Just some guys. Aaron Hicks is a guy that could get hot and really start pumping out some home runs for you. They're a couple games away from everybody being like, oh, okay, yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah. Right.
The fourth team on the list here, and the only reason why I didn't put them higher is because they did just get done sweeping the Marlins. It was the Atlanta Braves at number 4.
I've got them at 4 as well.
And we love the Braves. We're here for the Braves. I don't think anybody can argue right now that you should put the Braves ahead of the Yankees right now. I don't think that's a big leap at all. You put those two in a series right now. I'm taking the Braves just off of momentum.
Yeah,
and
the Braves, last 10 for the Braves. They're 7-3. They're on a 6-game win streak.
Yeah,
and I'm really looking forward to this series with the Mets this week.
Absolutely.
We 4-game swept the Marlins, and we didn't use Kyle Wright, Max Fried, Charlie Morton, or Spencer Strider. We pitched our 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th starter against them and swept them.
How about Bryce Elder? About Bryce Elder? 7 innings, 1 run. And
he didn't walk 15 batters like
only walked 3. Walked 3. I don't think you can be mad about that. Struck out 10.
Yeah.
But the Braves are a team that I feel like are going to beat some teams in the playoffs with how deep they can be. They don't have, I'm not saying that the Braves have 7 guys that I'm like, here, give me 7 innings, but they do have, they do have 4 guys, and then they have some guys where I'm like, oh, well, this guy could show up and throw 7-inning masterpiece today,
Yeah, and then those same guys are also the ones that could go 2/3 of an inning and give up 15. And you just don't know. You don't know how it's going to go.
You don't know. But then when you've got, I'll let you say this about what you sent me earlier about a young superstar making his rehab start. Who are we talking about here, Nick?
Mike Soroka, my king, tore his Achilles tendon twice, retore it his first day in the boot. I mean, you can't help but feel bad for the guy. But in 2019, in his rookie year, he finished 2nd rookie of the year to Pete Alonso, who hit 53 home runs as a rookie, rookie home run record.
Yeah,
and he finished 6th in Cy Young voting as a rookie. If he can come back and be close to that, that's as good as making a superstar trade without giving up a prospect.
And was having a very good season start to the
Yeah.
season when he tore the Achilles
Yeah.
and was looking like the number one guy for a Braves team that didn't have Charlie Morton at the time.
Yeah.
So,
And Max Fried hadn't really turned into Max Fried yet. Now, I know in 2020 he did turn that corner and turn into that ace when Soroka went down.
And I think
he's been that ace ever since.
That's only going to help him now. That I feel like Charlie Morton has been a guy. Max Fried has been the guy. Soroka has been the guy. Now, I don't know. You tell me, and I know that we're talking about the Braves a little long, but hey, we know the most about this team because we're here for them every day. Soroka does good in his rehab starts. Let's say that he gets back with the Braves by late September. What do you expect his usage to be in a playoff run? Is he a bridge the gap guy in the 5th and 6th, or is he a guy that you wait and try to get maybe 3 innings out of in a get me to my number 1 start?
I think it's all gonna be how he does once he gets back to the majors. Because I think if he doesn't do very well, they probably won't put him on the postseason roster just to let him have a full offseason off to rebuild everything, get back to where you need to be for next year. But if he comes back and shoves, he's probably in the rotation for the postseason.
Yeah, I think that you need to see a little bit of a failure out of some guys before you see them pushing Soroka to be something in the postseason. If a guy like Ian Anderson or Odorizzi just seems absolutely useless down the stretch, which I don't think they will, then you would push to see if Soroka could come back and help you some. But you've got 6 guys right now, not even counting some of your young arms that you might could call on in a get me over game. You got 6 arms right now that could start a ball game for you.
Right.
Who's the 6th guy right now in your opinion? Who's the guy on the outs? If you're the Braves and you want 4 stud starters right now, who's your 4?
At this moment, it's Fried, Wright, Strider, and Morton. That's my 4.
Exactly. And I don't know if you're the Atlanta Braves and the guy's been there for the past couple of years. I don't think you're ready to push Ian Anderson out of 5 yet.
No, and we saw him come back and he did well. 6 innings, 2 runs. If he can do that, if he can do 6 innings, 2 runs, or 6 innings, 3 runs every start for your 5-man in your rotation, you can't complain about that. That is great.
Do we think that Fried's going to be healthy enough to pitch against the Mets?
The Braves have not announced a starter for the 4th game, which would be against Jacob deGrom, and I'm assuming they're going to pull Fried off the aisle for that game.
I could see. I didn't think that he would be in the first couple games, but I thought that maybe he would squeeze in that last game. I think this is more of a precautionary thing than anything. A series where they said, "Do we really need Max Fried to win this series?" And look at no. Let's see some stuff out of some of our other guys that we're not sure about.
And I think part of it is they want to limit some of these guys' workloads, like Strider and Wright, the younger guys that are really getting their first full season in the bigs.
Yep.
And they saw their opportunity to let those guys get an extra 4 days of rest and go in really rested for the Mets series, and they thought they could still have a chance to be very successful against the Marlins.
And this is the tale of the tape for those guys here. You're late in the season. You're against a team that you have to beat right now.
Right.
What can you do when it's time to put the pressure on? And we've seen Kyle Wright in the past in the playoffs give us some good innings.
Absolutely.
So I'm interested more. I think I still have more faith in Spencer Strider, but I am interested to see how he handles the situation.
Yeah.
Because he has the stuff. Let's just see what he can do.
Right.
And that is my 3rd place team in my power rankings, the New York Mets.
Same.
So that great segue to talk about them. Right now, the New York Mets is almost like your death by 1,000 cuts, where you have a ton of guys with a ton of singles. I don't think you're not getting the pop out of the Mets that you want right now. They've had a couple guys that have hit the day-to-day a couple of times here recently, and Jeff McNeil and Nemo and stuff like that. But they're healthy. They're healthy. Yeah. They're not. It's nothing long-term. I wouldn't get excited about it if I was a Mets fan or anything. But there are a lot of guys that can base hit you and double you to death. Mm-hmm. And They don't have a bad defense. They've got good starters. I mean, it's hard to
Yeah.
find a spot where you're like, oh well, the Mets are worse than a team right here.
Yeah. The Mets, they are a confusing team to look at, especially if you dabble into any advanced analytics, because if you look at it, they should be one of the worst teams in baseball, but they aren't. Like just based on how their hitting is, because they have one of the worst average exit velocities in the league, but they have one of the highest batting averages on balls in play in the league, which means they don't strike out a lot and they don't hit a lot of home runs. Now, Pete Alonso and Lindor are going to hit you your home runs, and that's your 3 and 4 guy right there, or maybe you 2 and 3. I don't know exactly how they have their lineup set up.
And you don't sign a guy like Marte saying, "Hey, come out here and give me 30 home runs."
Right. You want him to play good defense in center field, have a 350 plus on base in your leadoff spot, and just be a good leadoff man that plays center field.
Yep, you know that you're not getting home runs like that out of Jeff McNeil.
Right.
You know that the outfield guys like Nemo and Marte, you're not getting that out of those guys either.
Yeah.
Like I said, this team is just a team that could really just kill you with kindness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They are a very, very, very frustrating team to face because they can single you to death. They have got, like, I remember, I think it was the first series the Mets and Braves played this year before the Braves had really picked it up and started winning a lot. I watched Travis Jankowski get infield hit after infield hit and turn them into triples. And I'm like, that is just annoying to have a player like that play against you.
Yep, they've got some speed. They've got the arms. I mean, you can't say enough about the arms that the Mets have.
You really can't.
And everybody's like, oh, well, everybody knows DeGrom and Scherzer are good. Yeah, but have you looked at the rest of the arms? Like they have a problem almost like the Braves where, after that, you've got a bunch of guys that you could say, well, here's the ball. Go give me 7.
You got Cookie. You got gosh, what's his name?
You got Walker.
You got Taiwan. You got Cookie. You got Tyler McGill when he gets healthy.
You got Chris Bassett.
You got Chris Bassett. You got Dustin Peterson. It's a good problem for the Mets and Braves to have. It's a good problem to have.
But, absolutely. I don't think either team's upset right here.
No, they can't be.
This could potentially be an NLCS matchup between the Braves and the Mets. Honestly, I mean, we know what team they have to go through to get there and make this happen, and it just so happens that the Braves might have to be the team to do that. But I think that the Braves would be more equipped to make that happen, as far as like with momentum and what you need to do to beat the Dodgers. To beat the Dodgers, I feel like you have to hit bombs. You have to hit bombs to beat the Dodgers. I feel like the Braves match up a lot better with the Dodgers than the Mets do.
I think. To me, just watching the Braves play the Dodgers in the postseason 3 out of the last 4 years, the biggest thing you can't do is make stupid mistakes. You can't give them free outs. You cannot give them anything for free. Make them earn every single thing they get, and then you can't feel bad about losing to them if they just literally outplayed you. If they just play better than you, you can't be mad about it, really.
Yep. You can't say enough about what the Braves and the Mets have both done this year. You hate to see one of those teams not be a division winner.
Right.
But one of those teams is going to have a harder road to go. And listen, I'm here for it. I think both these teams make their stamp in the playoffs for sure. Who do you have at number 2?
I had the Houston Astros at number 2.
Absolutely. I would absolutely agree. And you can't say enough about the consistency of the Houston Astros.
No, they've made the ALCS 5 years in a row. They've went to 3 World Series in the last 5 years. They're well on their way to another ALCS. Like right now, my ALCS matchup is Astros and Yankees. That's who I think it'll be.
Yep.
And I probably, as it stands right now, the Astros probably win in 5 in my eyes.
Yeah, no, there is nobody that benefits more from the Yankees playing the way they have lately than the Astros do up top in the mental game, because the Astros are the picture of consistency, whereas the Yankees look like now they've hit a little skid and you're trying to figure out, all right, well, how are they going to react? I don't think you look at the Astros and say, oh, well, they're probably down on themselves right now or anything like that. I don't expect the Astros to ever be out of a series. If the Astros get knocked out of the playoffs, it's in a game 6 or a game 7.
Right.
I don't think you're ever knocking the Astros out in 4 or 5, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if someone could fool around and beat them in the division series, I think it's in 5 games. There's no way you go 3-1 against the Astros in a series.
Who do you think could come up in the division series and beat the Astros?
I'll be honest with you. I think the only team in the American League that can beat the Astros is the Yankees, and they're on opposite sides of the bracket. So
yeah, I think you would be really, really asking for a lot out of a team like the Blue Jays. Because
yeah,
a team like the Blue Jays have enough sticks that could get hot, just like the Braves did against the Astros in the World Series last year. You have the sticks that could get it done, but this year the Astros have Verlander.
now not only do they have Verlander, they've been without Lance McCullers all year and just got him back right before the postseason. And he was huge for them in the postseason last year.
Yep. Framber Valdez and Urquidy have had their chance this year to really grow up too, and
along with Christian Javier. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in there, but he has been a godsend for them. Huge breakout.
It's one of those things where, you see a team one year and you come back and you see them the next time and you're like, well, gosh, they got the same pieces and now they're a year smarter. They're a year smarter, they're a year better. And as long as everybody stays healthy, I don't see how the Astros aren't making the ALCS, at least the ALCS.
Right.
Right now, it's hard not to see them in the World Series again. And I'm the type of person that I do like to see a new team come around and have a chance to win it and everything. Of course, I want to see the Braves do good every year.
Yeah,
but if the Braves were to get knocked out by some craziness in like the division series or something, then I'm immediately going to be like, all right, give me 2 teams in the World Series that haven't been there lately.
Right.
But it's so hard with teams like the Astros and, of course, our number 1 team, who we're going to talk about in a minute. But it's just hard not to see those teams at least in the ALCS or NLCS giving you what they give you every single year.
If the Braves don't make it to the World Series, I'm pulling for a Blue Jays Padres World Series, or a Mariners Padres World Series. Oh my gosh,
the Blue Jays and Padres, that would be insane.
Now, I'll be honest with you. I think I'm gonna take away the Blue Jays because they've won one before, but the Mariners and Padres, neither one of them have rings.
Yeah, no, so, I'd like to see the Mariners do well as well.
And the big thing about the Mariners, they ain't made the playoffs in 20 years. Just making it to the playoffs this year is sending a message to those fans. We're coming back. We're about to get good again. Y'all need to pack these stands up, and we're going to start signing some big pieces.
Yep. I think that the Yankees and Astros could be decided by who has the easiest time getting there.
Yeah.
Both of those teams, last year we saw it with the Dodgers before they got to the Braves. They went to a 7-game series with the Giants, and Scherzer was just done. He was done, and that was all he could handle. So I think that could happen in this. You got 2 juggernauts like the Yankees and Astros. I'd like to see a healthy Yankees and a healthy Astros make it to the ALCS, have it out again one more time. I can't wait to hear Yankee Stadium for those games.
Dude,
if
they can match up again and go to a Game 7, I don't know who I'm rooting for. I don't like either of them particularly. I like certain players from each team, but
yes.
I want a rematch of that because there's bad blood there, and I need to see the rematch.
Well, it's only left to talk about the only team that everybody knows was going to – I feel like everybody knew who was going to be at 1 at least, and that was the Dodgers. We know what they are. They've only looked better after the All-Star break, and you're like, well, the Dodgers can't get any better. Well, they did, and and I just – it's hard to see, unless a team – plays to the best of their ability, you're not beating the Dodgers.
See, what scares me more about the Braves having to play the Dodgers in the first round is
in the division series.
Yeah, after the wild card series they'll have to play, is that they won't have Fried and at least Fried and whoever they start in the 2. I don't know who they'll start.
Yeah.
But if we sweep those 2 games, we're at a disadvantage already because they're completely rested and we're not.
Yeah, I feel like you're really asking a lot from Strider and Wright at that point. I feel like those two guys are probably your 3 and 4 there.
Yeah. And what hurts you more than, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, go ahead, keep going.
What hurts you more than anything, and and about the Yankees Astros as well. You talking about who can get there quicker and who can get there easier. If the Yankees go to a game 5 and the Astros go to just sweeping 3, then they can get their entire rotation healthy when the Yankees probably had to use Garrett Cole for a game 5. And then you have to wait for Garrett Cole to rest again, and you can only use him once in a 7-game series. And that's what can really hurt you as a team, if not getting it done when you need to.
Yep. Not a lot to say about a team like the Dodgers. Everybody knows who they are and what they've done over the past 3, 4, 5 years. It's just a matter of who can stay healthy down the stretch here, who can get to the NLCS and ALCS with the least amount of trouble too.
Right.
So, well, I had fun. I had fun doing it. I hope you had fun doing it. And I hope everybody is willing to give us a like, a subscribe. We're really looking for more views. We really appreciate those of you that have stayed true to us, helped us out. We appreciate it. Nick, you want to send us off here with anything?
Go Braves.
Go Braves. Go Braves. Thank y'all. We'll see you next time.
See y'all.